When I found out I was pregnant with you, Mom told me, pregnant again for the 6th time, I wanted to walk out into the ocean until my hat floated. So, it turns out my conception was not deliberate. By the time I was conceived in late June of 1962, there were already 5 children at home, ranging in age from a brand new high school graduate to a toddler of 15 months. I'm the 3rd son and my parents' youngest child, the one my mother called her caboose, the last car on the freight train of my family. Mom was 42 and my father nearing 50 when I was born. Now 93, wheelchair-bound, and widowed for as long as she was married, Mom has often told me how much she loves and appreciates me, how God surely knew what he was doing sending you to me so late in my life. Still, I can't forget that sense of desperation she once expressed, the hopelessness behind even that momentary suicidal impulse, the image of a pregnant Irish Catholic Queen's housewife drowning herself like Virginia Woolf, perhaps weighting herself down as Virginia did, with stones in her coat pocket, and with me, or rather the cluster of cells that might have become me, in her womb. The idea is especially disturbing because it's so easy to imagine, and Mom wouldn't have had to travel very far before she got her feet wet. Broad Channel, the provincial island town where my family lived, was surrounded on all sides by water. An anomaly, more fishing village than New York City, with Jamaica Bay and the nearby Atlantic always present in the salt air, the scream of the gulls, and the fog that sometimes rose up around us. No child wants to imagine his or her conception, but I do, just this once. I count months backward from my birthday. I use the internet to check historic weather conditions, moon cycles, tide charts. And then I travel back in time, becoming a fly on the wall on that mild spring night as my soon-to-be parents climb the stairs of their house on Cross Bay Boulevard. The children are all in their beds. Dad, feeling frisky, pats Mom's rump as they climb the stairs, a signal she knows well, and which I imagine fills her with dread. George and Mildred are not hoping to produce another child, another mouth to feed, but though Mom is tired and premenopausal, Dad has his needs and Mom her wifely duties her mother informed her about shortly before Mildred's wedding, some 20 years past. Still a blushing teen, Mildred sat stock still with her hands covering her mouth as she finally learned the long overdue facts of life and the indignities she would have to endure as a married woman. A light breeze off the bay ruffles the polyester sheers of my parents' screened bedroom windows. By the dim light of the moon, George takes his pleasure behind a locked door beneath a crucifix hanging above their bed. Mildred, meanwhile, closes her eyes and says a silent decade of the rosary, a meditation that transports her away from her body for as long as necessary. My parents married young, created a home and a family, and they shared their happiness and their sorrows. Yet it sometimes seemed to me that Mildred's life, her marriage and her 6 children, was something that just happened to her, and perhaps wasn't the life she might have chosen if she'd ever believed she had a choice. I wanted to walk out into the ocean until my hat floated. Pregnant again. I try to imagine the different, perhaps sunnier landscape into which Mom's first child was born, the time before my mother's life became an unending laundry cycle, the days unfurling one after the other like an endless potato peel. And then I recall my childhood visits to Far Rockaway Beach, the Irish Riviera, where Mom taught me to swim, and eventually, how to relax enough to lie on my back and ride atop the waves like she did, eyes closed, her hands clasped behind her head, her face turned toward the sun.